All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first episode of Orange Bite. Now, this is a little bit different to Orange Peelers. I guess it's under the same umbrella because I've called it Orange Bite. Still a podcast. I'm planning on doing these every night and then it'll drop the following morning, hoping to just drop as many mornings as I can. Realistically, probably not going to be able to do every morning because I do have a life and I'm a busy person, but I'm going to try and just sit here for 10 minutes each evening and just go over that day's news. Now, we're giving a huge shout out to Clarky's Rugby League column here because every day he posts an around the league post, so you can go and check that out each day. But I'm going to talk through that post as the news because it's just a lot easier going to that post and getting all the news there than it is going to all the different things and compiling it myself. So massive shout out to Clarky, who's done all the hard work, not just for me, for everyone that's looking for rugby league news. I will just say quickly on the topic of Orange Peelers, you've probably noticed we haven't done it in like 2 months. Joel's been super busy. He did his MCL or something in his knee, and then he's had work commitments with a couple of things happening at Triple M. He's been called in, and then I myself have had a few extra work commitments recently. So not only have our schedules just not aligned, but we've both just become a little bit busy, and that's another reason why I'm just going to give this a crack every day. And if you guys want to sit here and you can listen to my opinion on stuff and my takes, or just talk through the news and get your news each morning in a bite-sized, pun intended, little episode, that's what we're here for. So this is Orange Bite. It's bite-sized. It's rugby league. Let's get into it. The story of the day really is Mitch Barnett. Scans confirmed that he ruptured his ACL and he will miss the rest of 2025. Now, this is not only devastating for the Warriors, it's devastating for the New South Wales Blues as well. And obviously, that's a lot of where the talking points are coming off the back of it. But first of all, just shout out to the Warriors who have just lost one of their key players. And they're having such a good season. They're going so much better than I feel like anyone expected them to. So it can't be understated how big of a loss this is. So hopefully, as a neutral fan, they can, sort of move past this and find a decent replacement. But realistically, Mitch Barnett, he's an absolute great player. It's going to be hard to find a like-for-like replacement of him. So that is pretty devastating news. And then as it is for New South Wales, obviously winning game 1, Mitch Barnett played a huge role in that game. He was starting. So now I'd expect Max King to start for the New South Wales Blues, which if at the start of the year you told me that Max King would be starting for New South Wales, as a Bulldogs fan, I would have laughed at you. But as the season's gone, we're 12 weeks into the season. As those 12 weeks have played out, Max King probably does, in my opinion. Maybe I'm biased, but I feel like he deserves his spot, especially after his performance in Origin 1. So it does open a door for Max King. Clarky's got down here via Fox Sports that Stefano Uto Ikamani is probably going to come onto the bench with Max King going to the starting side. I don't agree with that. I personally would have Keon go onto the bench. Obviously, Terrell May is another name that's going to be thrown around, but I personally had Keon in my 17 for game 1, and I feel like Keon is playing insanely good rugby league. I think he's more utilised in that bench position for New South Wales. I feel like Hudson Young, very much a back row. I would have had Keon there who can play through the middle or play lock. And once again, put him in off the bench, instead of Max King, who's now starting. You can play him through the middle, which is where Hudson Young played anyway, but you can play him on an edge if you need, and you can play him at lock if you need. So that's what I would be doing. I'm not here to talk about New South Wales selections, but when you sort of think through that bench makeup, there's probably a lot they could do better, but we'll talk about that another time because this is meant to be bite-sized, but just very devastating for Mitch Barnett. Thoughts and prayers to him, his family, his teammates, and friends, loved ones, everyone around him, and hopefully he can recover quite quickly. Moving on to Jamal Fogarty. Now, Ricky Stewart doesn't expect Jamal Fogarty to be sidelined for very long with his groin injury. In his press conference, he said that he wasn't too far off, but he couldn't kick, so they didn't want to risk him. And I was about to say that's literally what he said pre-game, that he probably would have been picked had he passed that final fitness test. The Raiders have a bye this week, so I think Ricky just wanted to give him that extra week off. Plus, they beat the Roosters anyway with Ethan Sanders coming in and killing it. So not too much dramas there, especially as the Raiders. They're kind of competing this year a little bit. They're going pretty well. They're in second place, but you want to give Ethan Sanders every chance he can have in first grade now that Fogarty's going to Manly. So, yeah, not too much to read into there. Obviously, I think Fogarty, he'll just be back next time the Raiders play after the bye. Ricky Stewart has praised Ethan Sanders in his Raiders club debut. not like I don't really have much else to touch on there. I thought Ethan Sanders did his job. And as I just said, they'll just be wanting to give him every possible minute they can this year to build towards that future, looking for next year and onwards. But not really news. Probably a little bit of a slow news day outside of Mitch Barnett. Jaden Sewer, his scans have revealed a low-grade syndesmosis injury. The Dragons are hopeful he'll only miss this round and return the following. So obviously that'll be a huge in if he can only miss 1 week. Obviously, he probably is kind of around the origin conversation as well, with Queensland potentially looking to make a few changes. He was in there last year, so he'll want to be back as quick as he can. But outside of that, not heaps to report. Hopefully he'll be back next week. It doesn't affect too much. Leo Thompson has submitted an early guilty plea for his grade 2 crusher tackle and has been suspended for 4 weeks. Pretty standard there. I'll tell you what, there's a lot less noise around this one than Jacob Preston a couple of weeks ago. This one was grade 2 and got 4 weeks. Preston grade 1 and got 4 weeks. So that's interesting. Obviously, there's a lot of variables that go into that. But yeah, Leo Thompson out for 4 weeks is actually a pretty decent loss for Newcastle, because obviously he's their gun front row forward. He's the guy in the middle that, does the job. I'd say he's their number one prop. So missing him for a month, that's a long time. So a struggling night side already fighting to avoid the spoon. It's a big month ahead for them, especially with Ponga in and out due to Origin and stuff. So yeah, that is a pretty big loss. That shouldn't go under the radar as a big loss. That is a loss. Payne Haas, he's been stealing headlines all week ever since the Broncos lost on the weekend. Clarkie's got down here. Payne Haas's management insists reports they shopped him to rival clubs were incorrect, and that his priority is to re-sign with the Broncos. It's an interesting one. It's one to watch. I'm telling you, this always comes out, Payne Haas. Every couple months, I swear, that a report comes out that Payne Haas wants out. People will link him to the Roosters and other clubs. He's a New South Welshman. It's hard to see him leaving the Broncos, especially soon, but there's just always whispers, and where there's smoke, there's fire. I wouldn't be shocked to see Payne Haas leave the Broncos within the next 2 years. Before his current deal ends, I assume he ends in at the end of next year. Let's have a look. I'll just quickly search Payne Haas contract if we can find it. His contract till the end of 26, so I'll back him to last the contract, but I wouldn't be shocked if I'm gonna call it right here. It's Monday the 2nd of June. I think that Payne Haas will be in Perth at the end of his current Broncos deal. After his current Broncos deal. So 2027, Payne Haas in Perth. I'm calling it now. Moving on, this is the news we all want to talk about if you're a Doggies fan. Lockie Gavin dominating headlines. Clarkie's got down. Lachlan Gavin says he wants to make his Bulldogs club debut this round and face off against the Eels, who he rejected. Pretty obvious there that he wants to make his club debut. I don't think anyone's shocked about that. I will pull up some quotes, actually. He had an interview with Danny Weidler that was on 100% Footy after Clarkie's made this post, and there were some interesting comments. One thing that stood out to me, and I could just make headlines out of the entire interview. We could sit here and talk about Gavin for hours, but this is meant to be a bite, so he won't. But it was interesting. Weidler asked him, can you play halfback? And he just said, yep. And then Weidler said, can you get a team around the park? And he just said, yep. I'll play that snippet.
Play halfback. Yep. Do you feel confident you could guide a team? Yep.
And this is a guy that said about 28 times in his official interview with the Bulldogs social media. Let me see. Can I quickly find this? So for somebody that that much in another interview, the fact that he said yep so quickly, so calmly, without shows confidence to me. So I'm really excited for Lockie Gavin to come. He said all sorts of things. As I said, I could get into it, but this isn't a Lockie Gavin podcast. It's meant to be a bite. But he talked about, basically, this was my take on it. He didn't seem too entitled. He genuinely seemed to just want to be at the Bulldogs to develop his game. There seemed to be a little bit of him that's like, I want to be there because they're winning. But for the most part, it just seemed like he wants to be there to develop his game and become a better player. And he seems to be willing to work hard. And he said he understands he's not entitled to any spots. He's not entitled to even being in the halves. He said he'll play wherever Serrato wants him. Serrato's spoken to him about playing, or if he's happy to play a different bunch of positions. So it'll be interesting to see what comes of that. I assume I've heard that he'll come off the bench for this Eels game with Hayward starting at 7 and then ease into the defensive system. I think he won't start at halfback. until he nails that Bulldogs defensive system. But as soon as he does, it sounds like he's going to be the halfback going forward. So hopefully he can make a fist of it. But I can't sit here and just give my thoughts on Gavin because I've spoken about it too much across social media already, and I'm just ready to move on, to be honest, and just let the kid play some footy. Clarkie's got here Nathan Cleary. Peter V'landys has hit back at suggestions Cleary could go to Union, and the coach only using his name for publicity. If I'm being honest, my opinion, I just don't see a world where Nathan Cleary goes to Union. I think Peter V'landys on the money here. Obviously, Peter V'landys going to say that, but I agree. I feel like they're just trying to use his name for money, and yeah, there's not really much there. I don't think Cleary's going to Union. Speaking of Union, I'm trying to rush through this because my camera's about to die. Joey Manu has been spotted with the Roosters over the weekend. Apparently, he's going to be there using their gym facilities for 2 weeks before going back to French rugby. I'll tell you what, I think Joey Manu will be at the Roosters by the end of the season. I really do. I think there's a reason they let Dom Young go, and now Joey Manu's in there. The writing's on the wall. He'll be at the Roosters by the end of the season. Mark my words. Brad Arthur's been offered to the Titans and some other NRL clubs. I don't really care about that. Tyson Gamble, he's undergoing surgery, and another one where I'm like, meh. And Jeremy Marshall King's meant to be back this week. Alex Johnson broke the 200 try thing. Obviously, well done to Alex Johnson. I would like to talk about that a bit further, but we just don't have time because my camera's literally about to die. Bit of a disaster for the opening Orange Bite, but shout out to Alex Johnson for getting 200 tries. Apparently, Stafford Towers extended for 1 year. I saw a story put out about something about rumours, so I don't know what's going on there. Trent Robinson wants Mark Nwanganga to fix his errors. That's pretty obvious. And Brendan Smith labelled the Origin opener as one of the worst Origin games he's ever watched, which is very, very interesting. But that'll do us. That's everything I've got. It is Monday, the 2nd of June. This will drop Tuesday, the 3rd of June, early in the morning. Hope you've enjoyed the first installment of the Orange Bite. Please subscribe, comment, let me know, is this a cool concept? Do you want to hear more? What do you want to hear in this little thing? Is it a good idea or should I just give up? Let me know. And as always, up the Dogs.